Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in once again. So we are on episode number 2 of our build series on building the Revell 71 BOSS 351 from start to finish. So first episode, if you did not catch that, just a quick recap. Basically unboxed everything, took it all out of the box and went through the parts, glued a few pieces together and did some mock-up on it and got it ready for primer. That's pretty much the gist of the first video. So this one here, we're going to run the car in the house and wash it real quick. I wash all my models, and then we're going to bring it back and we're going to primer it, and we're going to get it ready for some paint. So we'll see how far we get on that end of it, and we'll go from there. So let's get started on it and see how far we get. Alright guys, so I'm just going to give it a little wash here. I just use the old palm olive, nothing magic. Just give it a little bit. Won't drop. Won't drop. Like so. So I use little mild water, and while I'm at it I wash my hands, just make sure everything stays nice here. So just like say, just a nice lukewarm water, nothing too magic. Okay guys, like I said, just put soap all over it. Just rinse it real good. Inside, outside. I run a mild warm water. Nothing too crazy. Okay, so the hood, we had a little water soap in here. Just move that to the other side. And the last piece is our mirrors. So I just put a little soap in my hand and just kind of back and forth a little bit. Trying not to break them off that spur. And you want to make sure you put the stopper in the sink just in case you drop something. So once it goes down, you're probably not going to recover it. Okay, now we got everything all washed up. We'll take her out back, dry it off, and get it put in some primer. Alright, now that we're back out to the garage, quick trip into the house. So I take a microfiber towel and I'll just wash this and dry it off nice. And I go through these microfiber towels, I throw these away constantly. I don't save them. For what you're going to get out of it in the end, they're worth just pitching the things. So I don't bother keeping them at any cost, especially if one hits the floor, it's junk. Because I get that little grain of sand in there, a little pebble, and you won't know it. So the big thing about these, they obviously are not the best water absorbent towels, but they will take out pretty much any dirt and dust that you need. So, you know, when we're painting these things, so that's what you got to watch right there too. So see that little piece right there stuck in there? I mean, you don't really get dirt in it. It's more so dust. I mean, it's not like it's, I mean, unless you're painting outside, I guess you get dirt in it, but for me, it's dust. So there's that. That's nice. Get our hood all polished up. So sometimes water will sit inside these crevices, they're like these holes, so I'll blow them out just by mouth, just a quick blow on it, and away you go. So I want to be careful of those hinges. That cleaned up nice. And there we go. Okay guys, so we are going to use Mr. Hobby Finishing Surface Primer 1500 Gray. That's what we're going to paint it in. I do have the pink here, so I was almost debating on doing it in the pink, which this might work just as good, being I am going to paint a red on top of it. But this does give it more of a darker hue. Plus it'll give you a little more different colors in your body line, so I think I'm going to go with this instead. Okay guys, so we're going to do a little mix on our primer here. Love it when she sticks down like so. Shook this pretty good. So this gray covers very well, so I don't need a lot of it. I tell you what, this stuff is thick. So we do have to cut it pretty good. So about 5 milliliters right there. So we're going to use the Tamiya lacquer thinner. And we're going to take it up to about 12 milliliters. So right there I went just over the 10 mark, so we're going to leave it at that. So that thinner cuts it pretty good. Like I say, I just always wipe the side of the cup. As long as it runs down nice without too transparent, and it comes out pretty good, we should be good to go. So before else I get started, I like to take another little mixing cup and I'll put a little thinner in it, just in case we need a little bit more as we go. Sometimes painting you can get, or even primering, you can get to where it's like, it's a little thicker than you like to see, so you want to thin it down just a little bit more. Alright guys, so our primer is dried. Been in the Suzy Bake oven for a while, so it is nice and cured. So we're going to go through and wet sand this real quick. So like I said before, I did not see this, so I do have a body line right here. You can see that right there. It should take care of that. So we have that on both sides. So this body line, that sand out really nice. The rest of it looks good, so not a big deal there. So we're going to use some 1500 wet and dry. I just buy automotive wet dry sandpaper. And I just take and just cut a little piece up because I don't want the whole thing. A lot of times when I'm sanding it, I don't like to use the whole thing, because if I'm trying to just do like a small spot here, I don't know where this end of this paper is rubbing. It could be sitting there just eating away and I'm up here, and so that's why I like to cut it in little pieces. And we're not going too crazy with it, just enough to bring it down just a little bit. That's all we're going to do. I'm going to cut this again here. We're going to do the hood first. Careful of our hinges. Like I say, just enough to give it a little surface. I don't want to go through it. And if we do, it's not the end of the world. That's pretty much all we need right there. That's about it. And that's it for that. And to wipe this off, I'm just going to hit it with my microfiber towel. And we're going to paint this on the next video. So I'm going to just leave this sit, and I will rewash it before we paint it. Now if I were going to paint it tonight, I wouldn't rewash it. I'd be okay just leaving it like that, and we're good to spray. Now on this here, I'll see how this turns out, this body line. If it's too much white, we're gonna have to reprimer it. But if I can get just that corner down, I'll be alright with that. So I put it on pretty heavy, so okay, I took that out and that's pretty good. Just a nice sharp line right there. So wipe that just a little bit, make sure we're cleaning up real good. So I took that off, so see I got a little bit right there yet. Same as over here. So the rest of that's pretty good. Alright guys, while we're waiting for that primer to dry, we're going to move on and do some sub-assembly on this engine. So I'm picking out everything that is going to be painted blue for the engine. And then everything that's going to be painted black, we're going to paint all that stuff separate. So we have all our hoses here. We're going to paint those rubber black, and we're going to paint this rubber black, and then our distributor coil, starter, all that's going to be painted gloss black. We're going to do the valve covers in aluminum. So we're just going to get through pretty much these are everything that's going to be blue is right here. So we're going to get all this stuff trimmed up and go from there. Once we get some of this off removed, we'll get it put together and go from there. So when I'm putting this stuff together, I like to use my little clips. Got these little clips I bought. So I got these little guys here. Any little clip will work. It's nice to hold it together just to keep it tight. Keep it tight. So once again, we're using our Tamiya thin. Just giving us kind of a base here to get started. Then we can wick it around once we get it together. So they do give you a couple of pins here. Got one here. Make sure when you're trimming this, don't cut that off. Now you can get real fancy on this and putty this and fill that in and make it look nice and smooth, but for me, I don't do that. So once I get this painted, or I'm sorry, glued, we can actually go back and put a little bit of extra glue in here, help it out, like so. We'll go ahead and clamp it. Just like that. We'll let it set for a minute. So while that's sitting, I'll go through and clean the rest of these up, and by that time that'll be ready to go and we'll get this stuff glued on. Be right back. Okay, so we should be about good here. Very nice, very nice. So they give you right and left on the valve or the cylinder heads, but most all Ford small block, especially Windsor engines, right and left or cylinder heads are the same. So they give them they're numbered for you, but like I say, they are the same thing. So if you do get them mixed up, it's not one of those. Ooh. So looking here, they have these tabbed. So on the corner here, you can't mix. They want you to put them specifically. So see how that fits tight there? That won't fit tight there. Interesting. Okay. Not a big deal. They keep it nice and positive feel. You. Nice positive feel. I'm alright with that. Like I say, they do make it nice because that goes on so crisp. So always like to test fit everything first. Very nice. Like I say, everybody has their choice of glue, so I like this stuff. It's worked well for me. Like so. So we put our front cover on. Like I say, everything's got a nice positive installation to it. We'll throw our water pump on. So we get 2 holes. Like that. And then I'll throw our oil pan on. So this is a front sump engine, meaning the big part of the pan goes towards the front. So you do have a rear sump on a lot of cars. Okay, so we got that all together. Now according to the instructions, they want you to take and put your valve covers on, all that stuff painted, and have your intake painted, and then put your carburetor, distributor, coil, all that on before you put it on the engine. I am not going to do that just because I want to paint all this together. I want to paint this as an assembly. So I'm going to glue this on now, and then I'm going to paint this as one piece. But it's how you want to take it. I mean, sometimes you just got to read between the lines. So there we have our engine. So that's ready to paint. So we'll get that painted up here in a little bit and kind of go from there. We're going to let it sit and cure for just a bit. So I'm noticing I got a little gap on my oil pan over here. It's not a big deal. You're not going to see it. But I should have maybe took and shaved that down a little bit. I didn't quite test fit it the best I should have. But it'll be alright. Okay guys, so we got our Mustang re-primered once again. Like I say, I did have to do a little extra on it, so shut this bad boy off here. And like I say, these dehydrators, I mean, I know a lot of guys are hit or miss with them, but I like this thing. This thing works amazing. You can set it for quite a long time, and I use this thing like no other. This is like my to-go-to. So I just primered this again. And I tell you what, the nice thing about these dehydrators, I put this in here and primer is like, yes sir, good to go. And you know, other than that, I probably would have had to wait about, you know, personally I probably would have waited about 2 or 3 hours to do anything with it, but being we have this here, works great. So I had some extra primer left over, so I did do the grill. This is getting painted black, so everything I'm painting the satin black, I did paint with primer because, you know, you can't waste stuff, so I didn't want to dump it out. So I went and had just started spraying stuff and went that route. So as we're building this, you see pieces that's already primered. You'll know why, because I reprimed the body and had extras. So like I say, once again, I found that mold line, just to recap where we left off, and I sanded that out and just wanted to reprimer it because I didn't want the white showing, because sometimes that's going to be harder to paint that. and plus it may be different color, like a different shade. So we're going to give this just a real light wet sand once again with some 2000, and we're going to get it into some color. So I'm going to go ahead and wet sand it like I did before, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to give this just a real quick overall. Careful not to hit the corners too heavy. Okay, just a nice light sand, nothing too crazy, just enough to smooth it down. Okay, we're going to wipe that down, and we're going to call this good. Alright guys, we're going to wrap this one up, and I appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you on build number 3. So, you guys have a good one, and I appreciate you tuning in. We'll see ya.